I'm actually standing with some of my childhood toys that I bought for birthdays and things like that, the Micronauts. I've got a few Star Wars, Thundercats, and the whole works. I've collected toys since I was like 5, and I still have some of those original toys. Now, I always hear everybody talk about, the holy grail of toys in general. They're usually the scarcest toys out there that almost nobody has, and they're very hard to run into. Well, there are some other areas of holy grails that are even harder to get than just a holy grail, and today we're going to talk about something I picked up from the 1970s, all in the same time frame. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to talk about toys, one of my loves. Obviously, I'm standing in front of a whole bunch of toys, and before anybody else asks, they're not for sale. These are some of our collections. Some of these, like the Micronauts on this shelf here, were mine when I was a kid. I've saved them since 1976, I believe, or 77 is when I got those. And I still have the boxes, not for everything. The carded ones I don't, but I'm a big toy guy. If you don't know, I don't talk about it as much because I don't try to give away too much into the toy field, because it's something that I personally love and actually buy. I've got 3 favorite shows of all time from my personal childhood, that really led me into what I'm into these days, still to this day. Now, not in any order, Star Wars was obviously a revolutionary time frame in my life when Star Wars first came out. I was a young child. I was 7, 8-ish. And then I had Migos, obviously, Planet of the Apes Migos, Star Trek Migos. And then when Micronauts came out, that was it. I was into Micronauts for a good solid year. But before that, the 70s, one of the shows that I would never miss, besides obviously Star Trek back then, was Space 1999. Somewhere in one of these boxes here, I actually have my original Mattel Eagle 1, the big, large, huge monster spaceship. And in my opinion, that's probably the best action spaceship for action figures out there for basically 3 1/4. I know they're not technically that with Space 1999, but to me that's like the coolest, best ship out there. Anyway, I'm gonna fix it up, put it together, and we're gonna hang it from the ceiling in here. To me, a holy grail for any of these are specifics like some of the Italian versions of the Micronaut figures. Obviously for Star Wars it would be the full-sized Snaggletooth with the blue outfit, silver boots. Obviously you know what I'm talking about, or some of the last ones. For Space 1999, there's not a ton of rarities out there. Obviously there are some, but what I ran into the other day, which knocked my socks off, was actually some production material probably given out in 1976 when the first toys came out to market for Space 1999. Now, all the images in here are actually hand put together. They're not actual production boxes or anything. These are all prototypes. Most of these toys you can actually find, not all of them, some of these weren't produced, but most of the toys in here were actually produced, and you can tell that it's clearly hand-drawn on these. It's not the same box that was used to production. Sometimes there's stuff moved. There's quite a few of these out there. These are prototype photos promoting when the second season hit and the toys were out on the market. This is part of the pack for the toy promoters that were probably taken to the New York Toy Fair in 76. And these are advertising it. Now these are original. It has the original ITC logo on the bottom, Independent Television Corporation. It's a British company. Gary Anderson made this show, Space 1999. If you're old enough or you're a nerd into the old sci-fi and stuff like me, you probably know that this came from UFO. Look it up, Gary Anderson UFO. But this was a excellent show back in the day when I was a kid. It was just probably the biggest sci-fi adventure. Far more expensive to produce than anything else. I think it was the most expensive show on television at that time when this came out. It cost more to do these with the models, the special effects, pyrotechnics in like every single episode. So it's really an awesome show if you grew up with it. You know, I have fond memories of sitting by the TV with my family. My father loved the show as well. What we have here are Azrak Hamway International, AHI, which if you're a toy guy, you into the Migos or Universal Studio Monsters, you know that name because some of those can go for thousands. They dwarf the price of the Migos, and it's basically a Migo is what they are. This is some of the production photos for it, prototypes. Now these are original, these are photographs, 8x10. This would have been in the press kit. This is from somebody that I've dealt with before in the past that I've found a few other pieces that I wasn't sure what I had until I found this. So I'll show you some other pieces that I got from the same person but a couple months ago, and I showed him in a video actually. Now I thought this was a copy of the Dinky Toy Eagle One transporter, but it's a friction toy, so I don't know if I've seen one of those in person. Now what's also interesting is they tied it together with Star Trek. So not only is this a promotional photo for Space 1999, but it is also a promotional photo for Star Trek. Same types of items made by the same company. Now you can actually look this up. These are the water guns. The artwork is not the same at all. Even the gun looks different. There's no bubble on it or anything else like that. So I thought that was extremely interesting. Some of these in mint condition in a box can sell for some horrendously high prices into the $1,000 range. Some of them I've only seen one example in my entire life of looking. The space ray gun, I don't know how well it'll show up in here, but it's actually hand drawn, and you can easily see that this is just a mock-up of what it will look like. This is pasted out over a cardboard mock-up. It looks like even the word Star Trek on the side of the phaser is hand painted on there. It's just totally not a finished product on there. And that's Azrak Hamway International as well. Again, their figures are awesome value-wise. Another version of the Moon Car, same company. Now this is interesting too because it has Spock here on its own, but there's no box for it. I was under the impression this came out after that. This would probably prove that that was the case because in this photo they have the complete box. Now it is a mock-up too. You can even see where there's a line out of place here and there in some of these. There's also a Batman one in here from '76. Again, these are excellent, excellent images. I've never seen these before. I remember when these were out in the day. I haven't checked on this one. This one I would guess was probably nearly a finished example. Somebody out there may recognize what the box looked like, but anyway, I thought that was cool. This one was produced and it looks nearly identical to it. It's a model by Fun Dimensions, I believe. This one was hard to get, some of these boxes, even back then, and especially having them sealed today. Another one, now this one really shows it. It's very obviously hand-drawn with like a marker on there, it almost looks like. Again, it's a prototype. These spinners are just from any other set, it wouldn't have really mattered. Now this one is more finished than some of the other designs, so. Again, Star Trek had the exact same toys, just Star Trek design. The cardboard that this is on is the exact same one that's on the Star Trek one. The bubble is exactly the same as Star Trek. The figures almost look like they just repainted them from one of the other figures, like maybe it's Spock or something like that, and I thought that was interesting. These themselves look like prototypes as well. I have a version of this figure here, but it's actually painted differently, but it's definitely the actual figure by Azrak Hamway as well. Now, this is interesting for you thermos and lunchbox collectors out there. This is not the version that's on the lunchbox. It's slightly different. This is over. It's actually drawn. It's very generic. You can see where it's out of the lines. The thermos logo ain't quite right. It's hand-drawn is what it looks like. Very generic on here. The color separations wasn't there yet and the whole work. So, I mean, to me, this is a holy grail for toys. The whole genre of Space 1999 collectibles. I don't live my life on Space 1999. I haven't watched a whole episode in years, but I still like and have quite a few collectibles from the show. And again, there's the model. What was also interesting is there's the Halloween costumes, and those do not look exactly like the finished product. Again, it looks like maybe they've taken a mask from one of the other, like Planet of the Apes or something, like the astronaut or something like that, and used it. Now, the best one to me in here is this one, which is the utility belt. If this is a boxed version, this belt, not exactly like this, we'll talk about that in just a second, but this belt in the box, and it's Remco, which is like a more a generic company. They didn't get the best contracts. They were at 5 and dime stores and things like that. Not as nice looking packaging in all aspects, in my opinion anyway. This is like $1,000 piece in the box, maybe $1,500 if it's like primo mint, you know. This is a prototype, and it's clearly a prototype. Stuff's just painted onto there. This doesn't at all look like the same equipment. This looks like a modified piece, one of the other toys that they had that they kind of modified. It almost looks like they've glued stuff onto it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Also with this was the promotional paperwork. Year 2, which when they updated, they changed characters, they added new characters. It's original ITC. It goes into a lot of detail about the show. It's definitely original paper. There's a watermark in some of it. It's got the smell, the look, it's got a little bit of foxing, but it all goes together. Now, value-wise with something like this, I couldn't begin to tell you. I know I've already had a couple people contact me when I asked how many of these were around in some groups and on some pages, and asked if anybody else had seen some of these. Now, I haven't shared the images yet because I don't want somebody like going off and using them for something else. Now, I've seen some Star Wars photos, individual ones here and there. I've seen a kit once before, like 15 or 20 years ago, and back then it was like, I don't know, $1,200 or something like that, and that was a long time ago. Individual photos I've seen sell for a couple $100 on the very bottom end. So it's hard to say. There's more collectors for Star Wars. Less people know what Space 1999 is, but regardless, to me, these are a holy grail. It shows the version of the toy before it was actually even produced, and in most cases, it's not the same. So to me, that's the neatest aspect and makes this the biggest holy grail for Space 1999 for us to have ever found, and something that actually at this point I'm probably just going to hang on to for a little while. Now, where did we get it? I know people ask where you pick stuff up. Actually, it's from somebody I've purchased stuff before from, and I showed these in another video. Maybe it was a Patreon only video, I'm not really sure, but this is a couple sheets of full color Space 1999 scenes. And it's on full-fledged Kodak production quality paper. It's the right finish and all. They're numbered to 64, but I'm obviously missing some. The gentleman I got them from said he thought there was 3 more sheets and one of them had some writing or something on it. It's from a huge collection. This person was a marketer or something back in the day. So to me, I've been into this stuff for a long time. I have some connections still, even from my Disney days when I worked at Disney. I originally thought this might have been some sort of promotional material for like a still set. Most like movies or TV shows have lobby cards, usually a dozen or so. Sometimes it's more, but not usually. And then they also have stills, black and white and color. Now, to me, if there was 3 more sheets, there's 18 on a sheet, that would put this at least in the 60s. And it looks to me too like they could be designs for a trading card set. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what several people have suggested who I've shown these to. They're cool. I've never run into them. I've had them here for a while now at this point, decided not to get rid of them right away. I have picked from this person before on many occasions, and I'm always feel lucky enough to get in and be able to look for something. So I've been actually looking for the rest of these. Instead of finding the rest of these, this is what I found. So anyway, that's the thrill of the day for me. Now, if you want to see some other cool items similar to this here, stay tuned to the very end of the video as I'll show you some quick item pickups from the very same person. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends. Now, if you hung out to the very end here, something else that you may not know is most television shows out there had production material made, and that was sent out to various different groups and agencies. There's different levels of these sorts of things. Some went to magazines, newspapers, which there could be a dozen in one city. New York, there could be dozens of them there. Other ones just went out to the local ABC station that would have ran the shows specifically. And that's what I have here. These are other pickups that I've had. Three's a Crowd. Honestly, I don't even remember the show until I grabbed this. I had to look it up. I don't know if it was on for very long. Sometimes these are just for a pilot and the show never goes anywhere. Great pickup in my mind. I didn't get rid of it after he passed. I just kind of hung on to it. But something else interesting, they did stuff for tie-ins. And this is the Hug-A-Bunch. Kenner made toys for them. And this is actually a production booklet for advertisements for the toy line. They also had a movie tie-in, so there's some movie photos from the movie itself as well as the toys. Pamphlets, some descriptions on the Kenner toys coming out. Again, this would have been something given away at a toy fair. There's Hug-A-Bunch out there right this very minute that can sell for around $1,000 for some of the prototypes. This has prototype pictures in it as well. So I thought that was very interesting. I've got other ones from other TV shows that I've collected over the years. T.J. Hooker, very big fan. William Shatner's in that. I was always a big fan of the $6 Million Man, so when I ran across The Fall Guy, I had to grab that one up as well. One of my father's favorite shows.
Introducing the G.I. Joe Space-O-Matic. Space-O-Matic, the futuristic space vehicle you program yourself to make it go where you want, do what you want. Program it to lift, or to scoop, or use the magnetic pickup.
Watch this. Way to go, Joe.
G.I. Joe Space-O-Matic from Hasbro.